Hello, my beautiful co-creators. Lilu here. I'm in Salt Spring Island in British Columbia, Canada, and I'm here today with Jason and Brett. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. These two guys are awesome because I've been staying here for the past 3 days in a beautiful retreat. I really felt that I needed this time to slow down and reevaluate all the wonderful things that have happened the past 3-4 months, interviewing all those amazing healers and teachers, and you have a beautiful place here.
Thank you.
But most of all, I was really amazed by your relationship. I was not expecting that, and what a beautiful, wonderful surprise. And I wanted to do this interview about that because you've been married actually since 2004. So how did you meet? Tell us about your story, because I find that really inspiring.
Well,
Jason.
I'm Jason, and I guess we were true cyber pioneers in the early days of internet dating. I mean, sites like Lava Life are very popular in North America now, but back then I signed up to a site, I think it's long gone, called Dreammates, and Brett's was
CupidJunction.com.
Cupid Junction, and it was very clever because the computer, after several months of getting no replies at all from me, I got no response, found this profile that it decided was going to be compatible. And so I looked at this profile and saw that someone had just arrived in Vancouver, where we were living at the time, from South Africa. And so that was how we met. It was through the wonders of cyberspace.
And you're from South Africa. He's from from the UK, and you met in Vancouver. I love it. Through a computer system that totally matched you perfectly.
And the amazing thing is that I would call myself a little bit technologically challenged, as I'm not very good with computers, and I'm a body person. You know, I teach yoga and work with bodies, therapy. And so the fact that I managed to get it together to actually do this profile and get it onto the internet was, now he realizes what a miracle that was.
It was meant to be, I think.
Yeah. And actually, I think for us both, but particularly for myself, even just the exercise of filling out a profile of who you are, you have to say, you know, who it is you are in terms of putting yourself out there, and what it is you're looking for is a valuable exercise. So that was actually why I did it, just because I thought, well, it's useful to do this and to become really clear about this, because if you go into a parking lot looking for a used car and you just say, well, I don't know what I want, it could be anything.
You're the used car.
I know. What a flattering analogy.
But yeah, so I decided I needed to be really clear, because when it was there, then I knew, you know, what it was there. So
you're so awesome. I just love your relationship because, you know, you can tell how much chemistry there is there, and how much friendship and love. And, you know, you come from two very different backgrounds, and this thing that happened.
Friendship is, I mean, it's such an important word. It's such an important component, because if you, I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's such a true cliche that if your partner isn't your best friend, then it's going to be hard work. I mean, you know, relationships already involve work for everyone, even the happiest Disney couple. You know, there's always work. There's always new levels of communication and things that you're learning about the other person. If they're not your best friend, then it's going to be double the amount of work. So working at the friendship is I think the most, and enjoying the friendship is, I think, part of the magic.
And you both had quite an experience before in other long relationship, so you knew what you didn't want also, and what you wanted, and that's a big part of the success that you're experiencing now.
Well, absolutely. I would say for me, previous relationships are, I mean, breakups in the past, they hurt at the time, but early relationships are the best way of learning firsthand what it is you don't want. And that's the important thing, that you're learning about yourself. It's not that you're learning the other person was horrible. I mean, they often were not horrible people, but it's just not what I needed or wanted, and where I was looking. So you learn a lot about yourself that way.
And so you got married in 2004. So Canada is one of the first countries to have gay marriage. Is that right?
One of the first. I believe the Netherlands was the first.
Always in advance, these ones.
Yeah.
Netherlands, Scandinavia, but certainly the first in the Americas. And I believe still the only country in the Americas, North or South America, that as a nation has federal recognition of marriage. It's not that they introduced gay marriage. All they did was redefined marriage. So marriage is now seen as the union of two people. Consenting adults. As long as they are consenting and they're over 16, then they can get married, whether you're two women, two men, or a man and a woman.
And can you adopt also?
We could.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we could. We have our hands full with 3 cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we both work a lot with people, so we sort of not sure that we want to make that commitment just yet, but perhaps. So.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. Legally, it's possible, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we were discussing this the other day and saying how the marriage for us wasn't necessarily, we didn't do it just because it was the next thing. I think initially for me, I was a little reluctant, to be honest with you, because I just thought, well, do we need to do this? You know, is it necessary? But now that we've been actually married for, how many years is it? 7 years. I'm not very good at dates. It makes me really, it's made me realize the significance of that kind of commitment when the going gets tough, that you don't just sort of go, oh, well, screw it. You know, you actually make an effort to communicate and to try to express how you're feeling and to ask what it is you need and that sort of thing. So we've worked through stuff, you know, and we'll continue to. So. And
I love all those wonderful celebrations that you have in your respective countries.
That's right.
Tell us about it.
We kind of we didn't set out to do this. It just evolved. We launched on something that became known to us anyway as the Wedding Roadshow, because my family and friends, a lot of them were back in the UK. Brett's family and friends in South Africa, and then of course all of our friends since we'd both moved to Canada. And so we had these 3 continents full of people we loved. And I know our family and some close friends would certainly have come across here to Canada for our ceremony here, but they would have all arrived en masse, and we would have spent like 2 minutes talking to this person and 30 minutes with that person, and weddings are already busy times, so dividing your time into such little compartments with all these people that you dearly love who've flown halfway around the world to see you, we didn't like the idea of that, and I probably think they wouldn't have enjoyed that very much. So if you can't bring the mountain to Muhammad goes to the mountain. So we took the show on the road. So we had the legal ceremony here in Canada, and we had a wonderful day of celebrations. And then we went to South Africa a few months later, and then finished it off in the UK.
So how was it different? What was your best memories?
Well, the initial ceremony and the main ceremony was here on Salt Spring, and the thing about that ceremony was we decided, because it was an unconventional marriage anyway, we made it extra unconventional. So the initial part was we walked a labyrinth while all the guests stood around the labyrinth. And I think we had someone read some Rumi poetry while we stood in the center. And the words were, "The clear bead at the center changes everything. There are no edges to my loving now." And that sort of set the tone for the day, because then we had the legal ceremony with the marriage commissioner from Salt Spring. And then following that, a friend of Jason, who is an amazing whirler, like as in a dervish, came and turned in the middle of this room where all the guests were sitting around. And I'm just noticing the cat there. So it was just amazing, because this guy whirled for about 30 minutes and the guests were just mesmerized. It was like a spontaneous meditation, because everyone just became still and quiet, and it was such a special moment, and like I say, so unconventional, because it really felt like people reflected on their own loving heart in a way. And then we asked everybody just to give some words as a gift to the day. And then we had a wonderful...
No gift, no traditional gifts. You didn't want that?
Gifts.
No, we asked people to give a donation to a charity that we had chosen, a dolphin and whale charity.
Of course, dolphin and whales. We just did an interview with Jason, so we heard all about this passion of his.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and then we had a wonderful vegetarian feast, and after that we did something called a ceilidh, which is a Scottish kind of jig, I guess you could call it.
Oh, yeah?
It's like Scotland's version of line dancing. So someone's calling out the instructions, and it doesn't matter whether you're a good dancer or a bad dancer, you just all join in. And we had young people and old people there. Everyone had a great time. It was a wonderful day. And I think we loved it so much, doing it all over again was very tempting after that. So the South African ceremony was at a wine farm in a very wonderfully titled town in South Africa called Darling. So it seemed very romantic. If a place is called Darling, then it has to be a good place to get married. So that was lovely. And then the last part in the UK was actually part of the ceremony, or part of the day celebrations, was on a boat in the North Sea off the Yorkshire coast. And thank goodness it was a really hot, sunny, uncharacteristic Northern English day. And it was beautiful. It was a lot of fun. So what
would you say is the most important in a relationship? What is for you the secret ingredient, or some advice that you would like to give to people listening?
The most important ingredient. Now you're putting us on the spot.
Why would you say this relationship is successful?
I think it's celebrating each other as an individual. Not just tolerating and not just supporting, but actually celebrating. So celebrating our differences, and through that, you know, the other component which I can't kind of leave out is occasionally nudging one another back to the present, because when we get caught up in what comes next, which we all do, tomorrow, next week, just to kind of remind each other to just be here in this moment, because of course that's all we ever have. And for me, that is the central thing always, is that you know, we don't, that piece of paper is just a piece of paper, as in the certificate. All we have is this moment now. So
yeah,
and
I would echo all of those things. I would add a couple of other things too. I remember a friend years and years ago in Poland told me that there's an old Polish phrase, which is that when you meet the person that you fall in love with and marry, that in Polish they say you've met the other half of your orange. And I don't know why, but even though it's a pretty image, it never resonated with me, that phrase, because I've come to realize with Brett, and this is no reference to his hair color, but we have to be two independent oranges. And two oranges can complement each other beautifully together. But the idea, therefore, is that you want to be in a relationship, not that you need to be in a relationship. And as long as you want to be, then you recognize, in many ways, it's a great privilege and it's a great source of celebration to be in that, rather than it's a dependency or a necessity to be in it. Because when you recognize something as a source of joy and privilege, you value it even more. So I would say that is very important for me. and it links to the second thing, which is just to be able to laugh at yourself, to be able to laugh at each other. I mean, we have dozens of alter egos and personas and characters that will play out every day, and they sneak into our conversation.
You're very tidy.
Yeah, it's the ability to be able to laugh at each other and to laugh at yourself that is incredibly important. I mean, I think a lot of people can take relationships very, very seriously, and I mean they're serious things for sure, and there is serious commitment and there's a serious sense to them, but there has to be some levity, there has to be some lightness, there has to be some laughter, and there has to be fun. Otherwise you're spending all day sitting and talking about having a serious relationship, and that's not much fun at all.
That's not juicy.
Not juicy.
Want juice?
Not juicy.
Well,
Juice.
Well, that's awesome.
Cats are juicy as well. Cats are great, juicy things to have around.
This is Oliver.
You have a pyramid in your background too, huh? In your backyard.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that one because that's quite special, huh?
Yeah. It's
you do some yoga sessions in there.
Yoga and private physio sessions.
That's amazing.
And
we have meditation groups in there.
Classes.
We've even had a wedding in there. Not ours, but we had a wedding in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've had a music concert in there. We've had whirling in there. So
What kind of stuff?
We had a famous Canadian singer called Jane Siberry, who some people may have heard of, and she came and she does what they call salon concerts. So she came and we had 50 people come, and she did an acoustic, unplugged concert, which was absolutely wonderful. And the wedding was some friends of ours who actually had their ceremony inside the reception inside the pyramid. They built a massive big table which seated 20 people, a circular table, which we kind of set up in the pyramid. So
extraordinary.
We should mention that 50 people in the pyramid was quite an achievement, because it's 8 meters by 8 meters, so that's actually a lot of people, and a musician in one space. So it really ramped up that pyramid energy that day.
Yeah,
so
We'll have to film the inside and show at the end of this video what it looks like.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this beautiful moment. Thank you for having such a lovely guest home, and I love the synchronicities that led us to be here, because 3 hours before that profile was not posted, and then I found you online.
You found a master guest retreat online, and it had only gone up 3 hours earlier, so you were meant to be here, Lily.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And your cake is so good, and yeast cooking so good Indian. I love it, love it, love it. If you come to Salt Spring, you have to stop here. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.